Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I am proud to bring you Mythic Gaming with Tim Espy and Zach McAtee. Greetings, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well yourself.
I'm doing great. I missed our show with all the complications over the past few months, so I'm glad that we're back and we're all here.
Yep. And hello, how's everybody doing?
Great.
Yeah, it's been yeah, did we end up talking last month? I don't remember. It's been so crazy.
Yeah, for this month, I didn't know if this month would happen. My computer got hacked and
Oh, geez.
an eye infection, and the eye infection is mostly healed. And a friend of mine who knows computers helped to get me back up partially. So uh, here we are. But
Right.
it looks like I feel like I'm looking like out of a fish tank with full of water, and the world looks really blurry. So that hasn't totally passed yet, but the infection went away. So onwards and
Well,
upwards.
that's interesting. It's the second person I've heard in 2 days that something happened with their eye. So what happened? What happened with yours?
I don't know. I woke up one day and my eyes were red. And because I work with kids with the role playing, I thought maybe I caught pink eye from some kid or something. And I work in schools, so the chance of getting something from the kids is very high from a school. So I thought that's what it was, but then it just kept getting worse and it spread to both eyes.
Oh, wow.
So we went to urgent care and they gave me some ointment. The ointment was not very helpful. So then they sent me to get some drops and some antibiotics. The drops made my eyes burn, but the antibiotics helped. So now my
Hmm.
eyes are no longer red or puffy, but my vision is not totally restored yet.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty intense.
But at least moving forward, that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, oh, good thing that you're back on the mend and everything. So that's good.
Yes. And as I said, I missed you guys, and I'm glad we're back. And I'm looking forward to jumping right in with what's new and exciting. So, Tim, what is new and exciting?
Yeah. So it's fun. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation today because I just started playing a new video game today that I wanted to talk
Awesome.
about while it's super fresh and and on my mind. Um, so one of my favorite style of games, they're called rogue likes, where they're uh your progression saves over the time that you're playing the game, but each individual time that you're playing the game, it's like a single run. So you play and play until you die. Hopefully you get to the end of it. But then usually you restart from the beginning, but with the accumulated power that you've accumulated throughout your previous runs.
Hmm.
Um, so Slay the Spire is like one of the great examples that I've talked about all the time. It's like the roguelike deck building game that I've talked about endlessly. They've made a board game out of it and everything. In my opinion, it's just one of the best, if not the best, deck building kind of computer game. So there's been, millions of iterations like you couldn't even imagine. Every single type of genre has been made into a roguelike. So this one that has come out is kind of like a culmination of a few different things. So if you remember back in the day of the classic like arcade games,
Hmm.
you had they called shoot 'em ups or shmups, where
Yes.
usually it's a horizontal or vertical scrolling game where it's almost like a bullet hell is kind of a way to describe it as well, where there's a bunch of enemies on the screen and a bunch of bullets flying everywhere and you're progressing, like I said, either vertically or horizontally. um, so this game is called Ball X Pit. A very interesting fun name.
Yes,
um,
that is kind of
and all capital letters and everything. It's very tongue-in-cheek, the comedy in it. So this is a vertical style like shoot 'em up, where you're progressing. So okay, I guess I can give the story of it. It's a very, very simple story. The intro lasts like 30 seconds. Basically, there's this town. It's called Balbalon, like Babylon, but
Babylon. Yeah.
Balbalon, of course. Um, it was there one day, and then suddenly this big unknown thing falls from the sky and wipes out the city of Babylon, and all that's left is a pit. So that's where you get Ball X Pit from. And now people from far and wide travel to this pit and try to go further and further down the pit and to collect treasure and unknown artifacts and trinkets and stuff. Um, so, so like I said, I just started playing. So there's, oh man, I don't even know, 12 different characters to unlock. I think I've done 5 so far. And each different character, gives you different power ups. The base one is just the base one. The second one, uh, what does he do? He cares about bouncing. So you want to, as many bounces that you can get off of the characters as possible, gives you more, attack points and everything. But it's a vertical style shoot 'em up where there's, different mobs that are progressing down the screen, and you're shooting your balls up. And there's different balls, of course, with different power ups that give you spawns that spawn spiders and different fire and poison as well. So it's been already very, very deep. I think I've put, 5 or 6 hours into it so far.
Wow.
Um, but but Zach, it's something that you would enjoy very much. The pixel art is very good, and the music has been really good. Lately, I've been turning down music in my video games and listening to my own stuff, but this one had I've had cranked up all day listening to it. So the soundtrack has been really fun. Um, but yeah, like I said, Zach, you'll get a I think you'll like it a lot if you
Nice. I
haven't.
was just looking at pictures because I haven't heard of it. Looks like Breakout, like Arkanoid and Breakout, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. Except that there's the blocks and breakout. They're in this game. They're enemies that are shooting arrows or other projectiles at you, and some attack you with melee and everything. Um, but there's even like a small like city building aspect to it almost, where while you're progressing down through the pit, you're picking up different blueprints, and the blueprints that you pick up will give you buildings that you can then build, which will then give you passive upgrades to your character. So this is where the rogue light or roguelike element comes, where your character gets built up over however many runs that you're doing. um, so you build it was like a shoe smith or a shoe cobbler, that upgrades your like your movement speed and your ball shooting speed for your future runs. Um, so each run that you're doing is helping you progress, farther and farther into the pit. Um, I've made it down to the second level so far, so I'm not even sure how many levels there are. But the first level is just a basic, kind of like dungeon kind of aesthetic, and then the second one has been a snowy, icy world or level. Um, so it'll be fun to see where it how weird they can get with it.
Now you had said that they made these into board games as well. Have they also made them into RPGs? Like, is there interconnectivity that you can introduce or create with it?
I'm not sure what this one just came out. It hasn't even been a week yet, actually. Um, so like Slay the Spire came out in 2000 and wow, 17 maybe, or so. Yeah, it came out years ago. But that board game just came out maybe a year ago. So it took them, quite a while to come out with something. Um, but uh, but yeah, like I said, I'm not sure even too much of the story about this one. So I'm sure that they could probably do something with it. But nothing that I've seen so far.
That sounds interesting and exciting. Is the perspective like a Diablo, or is it more like a magic sword for the Nintendo? Nintendo.
It's not isometric like Diablo. It's like Gradius, if you're familiar with that, or I'm trying to think how Gauntlet 2 looked. But it's top down vertical shooter.
Okay, so I can imagine that. That
Right.
sounds like a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's classic example of modern, this is going to spin off the conversation a little bit, but modern media, helping project sales and stuff and get things into the eyes of people that may have not seen it. Like I found out about this game through one of the guys that I watch on YouTube. He plays a bunch of roguelikes and like indie games. This is made by, or it's published by Devolver Digital, Zach, that they've done a bunch of stuff.
Yes, they're pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So usually if they get their the Devolver Digital stamp on it, it's usually pretty good. Um, but yeah, so somebody that I watch on YouTube got a copy of it, like a early demo or whatever, and he posted his video, and it's like, oh wow, okay, this looks interesting. Um, so it's fun, new media being able to find stuff that you normally wouldn't have come across any other way, unless you're really looking for stuff.
Wow, that sounds great. Are there any other video games that you're playing right now?
The only other one that I have been playing recently is just typical Magic the Gathering arena. It's their uh a computer-based client. Like you can play it on your tablet and stuff. It's just a way to play Magic uh virtually. So I've been doing I always play a few games on there, a couple times a week just to keep fresh.
Do you still have the tournaments in the store with the Magic the Gathering?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Still super busy with all that. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'll talk about more stuff about that in the future because we got a couple of things coming up.
Oh, great.
um, but uh, but yeah, no video game stuff, not too much. The new Pokemon Legends ZA game came out. So it's the new it's not mainline Pokemon game, but it's part of their Legend series. They came out with Legends Arceus a couple of years ago. Zach, have you played that yet?
No, I actually haven't bought this one. I've got such a backlog that I'm trying to get through some other games first.
Right. Yeah. So I haven't bought it yet. My girlfriend Claudia, she has a Switch 2, and she got the Switch 2 version of it. So she's been playing it for the past 4 or 5 days or so. Um, and she's been liking it. So Hercules, I'm not sure how familiar are you with the Pokemon game, like the video games themselves, not the
Not
card
very
version.
familiar. I remember years ago when they first started coming out, I was interested in them, but that's been decades.
Okay. So normally, and Zach can also fill in some blanks where I'll be blank on some stuff, but normally the Pokemon video games are turn-based RPGs, like classic Final Fantasy, where it's not live action, if you will, where you or the Pokemon takes their turn and then the enemy takes their turn and back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, so with the Legends series, it looks like they're trying to do a different style of gameplay. So with Legends Arceus, they did like open world, like free roam, where your Pokemon are battling each other kind of like in real time, and you're doing the battle instead of turn-based, it's more action-based. Um, so with this one now, Legends ZA is what it's called. They added even more to it where you send out your Pokemon and your Pokemon also battle, but the Pokemon can hurt you where that is not normally the case. Normally it's Pokemon versus Pokemon.
Hmm.
So in this, it's your Pokemon are helping you battle the other Pokemon where the Pokemon that you are battling can hurt you.
That's an
So
interesting twist.
right, exactly. So it's more, if you're familiar with like the Dark Souls series where it's a lot of melee combat and dodge rolling and stuff to avoid being attacked.
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of what this seems to be. Not obviously not as extreme as Dark Souls because that's known for being extremely hard. But so this one there's more action based, so you're dodging and rolling and trying to get away from the Pokemon that are attacking you. Um, So it seems pretty interesting. It's fun that they're changing up the formula. That seems to be the sentiment when it comes to Pokemon fans that, people love Pokemon and I love Pokemon. I have loved Pokemon for 30 years or whatever. Um, but a lot of people feel like they kind of rest on their laurels a little bit, if you know what I mean, where they might not innovate where they should be innovating and stuff. So it's good to see that they step out of their comfort zone every once in a while, and they can make something that is fun and unique and different.
Yeah, I remember when I was running Pokemon themed role-playing games and other type of games that some of the kids wanted to free the Pokemon from their bondage. So there was always either a sub game or a game that was the primary focus. Yeah, and
No,
the
that's
practice of capturing Pokemon and forcing them to evolve and fight each other.
that's always been also a topic of conversation when it comes to you know the storage of Pokemon. How does it work? You know, Zach, there's lore when it comes to that, I assume, right? Like how it works when they go into the Pokeball and stuff.
So I don't think they've ever really solidly given a single canon answer. But the most common theory is that it's kind of like a pocket dimension. Um, and then on top of that, in the game's Hercules, you can download your Pokemon into a computer, into a PC, which is where you store the ones you can't carry. So that adds another layer of people saying, besides what happens in the ball, what happens when you upload your Pokemon to the computer? Where do they go? What's that like? I think it was Sun and Moon had like a little side game where you went to these islands that they implied were kind of the places where the Pokemon that you weren't using went, where they could just hang out and like have fun on these tropical islands. I don't know if that's supposed to be like the 100% this is how it works everywhere answer, but the manga does it different where they're just in the balls, but they can see out of them and like talk to you and stuff out of them.
Oh,
So if you ever read the original mangas, the top of the Pokeball, the red part, is see through. And
hmm.
so, like, if they've recalled like a Bulbasaur, they can see the Bulbasaur in it, and he can see out, and like he might wiggle around and try and like force his way out of the Pokeball, stuff like that. So they've had a lot of different interpretations.
That's interesting. I didn't know that it was see-through. I mean, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Look up the original
makes sense
manga.
though. Mhm.
I'm gonna ask a question. So this doesn't have anything to do with gaming, but there's pop culture spirituality now that's arisen. There have been books written about it, and there's a lot of activity on the internet where people have taken pop cultural stories and integrated them into their spirituality. Is there a Pokemon spirituality that's evolved?
Not that I've heard of. I have seen some people have made tarot decks and like oracle decks using
Okay.
Pokemon. But I haven't seen anything anymore, I guess you would say, in depth than that.
That's what I've seen. Something similar, probably from Zach showing me actually the Pokemon Tarot cards. Because there's how many Pokemon? A
At
thousand
this
at
point, over a
least,
thousand, yeah.
right? So there's a lot of options to make stuff work for tarot cards.
Yeah, I've seen Marvel and DC tarot decks and Oracle decks and things like that. So I could imagine a Pokemon tarot deck or a Pokemon Oracle deck.
Right.
And there's all these theories on egregores, which are and tulpas, which are
Hmm.
creatures created by the mind, and
Yep.
uh, metaphysics surrounding that. So I would imagine that someone who's a Pokemon fan and a fan of these new spiritualities must have done something similar with a Pokemon, and it would involve ways of bringing Pokemon into being and summoning them and deploying them in the real world and so on and so forth. The last time I really got involved with Pokemon in terms of a game was when people started doing it was called Pokemon Go, I think,
Yep.
where
Mhm.
real life Pokemon or real game Pokemon in different real places.
Yeah, it was like more of like an augmented reality type of game where
Yes.
you would pull out your phone, if you were at a park or a designated area, or most of the time they were just in the wild as well. You pull out your phone, and through the camera it will show your surroundings, and there'll be a wild Pokemon that spawns, and you can you can throw berries at it to make it easier to catch, and then you have your Pokeballs that you spin and throw at the Pokemon to catch. And then they eventually turned it into more where they had like certain designated spots, like level 1, like our store is a Poke Stop, and I think it's a Pokemon Gym as well.
Wow.
Um, so there's designated areas like Poke Stops you can go to, and that you can like get a refresh on some of the consumables that you use. And then, like I said, they added a bunch of stuff to it. So with the gyms, there's 3 different teams that you can choose from. When you start, it's red, blue, or yellow. Um, and with the gyms, you can go to the gym and fight the Pokemon that's like the main leader of the gym. And then if you end up beating that Pokemon, your Pokemon gets put there, and then you take it over for your team. And then it's about trying to have the most gyms and stuff. Um, but yeah, it was very, 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 very popular. I'm sure, as you know.
Yeah, it's like
But
a perfect with Pokemons.
Yeah. It's still very popular. There's still they still do like community days every month maybe. And people do come to the store because, like I said, it is a Pokestop. So they're like, oh, like we're here for the Pokestop, and then they end up looking around and stuff. So it is a good way to make a community. One of my close friends that I met through the store, he still does every Friday. He does his rounds where he goes to a few parks and meets up with people that he met playing Pokemon Go.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
Oh yeah, so there's a big community around it, certainly. And then once a year they do the big Pokemon Go Fest, where it's in Chicago or New York, and it's a big a big not convention, but a big get together, a big festival, where they do special Pokemon releases that you can only get at the festival and stuff. So it makes it like a destination.
Wow. That is awesome. I'm glad that those things are still going on and that people are still connecting through them.
Yeah, yeah, there's still a big group that goes to Verona Park, down in Verona and like Cedar Grove area in Essex County. One of my other friends, he still goes there for that. My other friend that I was talking about, he lives up in Sussex County. So there's a couple places that he goes, and like I said, he still meets with the people that do it every week.
Zach, how about with you? Have you immersed yourself in anything new and exciting?
Yes. So, Tim, you actually just like kind of got me excited because when you started describing Ball X Pit, I thought you were about to start talking about the game that I was intending to talk about. Because I'm not as huge into roguelikes as Tim, but like every once in a while I'll find one that really like just catches me. Um, and so another genre that I am a big fan of from classic games that you would play in arcades or like all the old Sega Genesis and SNES and stuff like that um, are beat 'em ups. So like
Hmm.
if you guys remember Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, games in that vein, right? So this Devolver Digital published this game for I think it was Dotemu, I think is how you say it. And it's called Absalom, and it is a roguelike beat 'em up. So each run is you're going through a beat 'em up, moving between these different like continents, like choosing your worlds and stuff, getting new builds, and when you die, you go back to the beginning with some currency to give yourself some permanent buffs like health increases, damage increases, stuff like that. Um, the art style is fantastic. It looks very similar to Mike Mignola, to his art. If you guys are familiar with him, he was
Yes.
the Hellboy
Oh,
artist. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's got a
Okay.
very like that kind of art style. The colors are very vivid, so it looks like hand drawn. Um, the controls are extremely fluid and responsive. There's only 4 characters so far, but people think they're doing DLC coming out soon because it only just dropped like last week. And so the characters are a nice, fun mix that you don't usually see in these kinds of games. So first off, there is the main character is a dark elf woman with a massive sword that's like as big as she is. So as far as fighting goes, she kind of focuses a lot on AoE, like area of effect attacks, having a wide range, things like that. You have a one-eyed dwarf who is the last of his people, and in this universe, dwarves are kind of like they were in Tolkien's original history, where they were not born. Their god created them all at once, and they've slowly been dying out. Um, so he's the last one, and he is very short range, but he's got like higher damage moves. And he has like a big rifle on his back. The dwarves are the only people who developed guns in this setting, and so like he has that mix of close up damage, but then also like kind of being able to hit people from further away to give himself space. The character I think you would like, Tim, is a frog who is like about half the size of a human, so like maybe like about the size of a dwarf, give or take. But he like levitates because he's a wizard, and so he's just a frog in a cape with a wizard staff. A bunch of his attacks are him like using his tongue to hit people. Because he's a wizard, a lot of his specials are him like shooting massive beams across the stage, all sorts of stuff. And then the character that I like is I usually tend to like more like rogue characters, like speedy, multiple hit characters, and so their version of it in this is a woman who is half puppet, so like she's lost her arm and leg, and they've been replaced with puppet like arm and leg that she can use to fight. So the arm can stretch, and she can like grapple people from a distance and pull them into her. It also has like a blade on the wrist that she can spin around like a buzzsaw. And so what you do is you start it out. You start a run up to 2 players, local or online, and you immediately get one power up, like a lot of roguelikes do, and then almost every room will drop either a buff of some kind, money, something like that. There's been tons of Easter eggs and little hidden things so far. There's like certain rooms where there's emoticons for if you're playing online. You can give people like thumbs up, like let's go this way, that kind of thing. And like sometimes you'll just, if you do them, something in the background of the stage will like interact, or in one case, spawn a boss out of nowhere. But so you go through, X amount of stages with branching paths. You fight a big boss and then have like a healing rest station afterwards. And when you reach the end of a continent, you then pick the next continent. And there's 4 total. And you're trying to get to the end. And there's a wizard who's effectively trying to outlaw magic and have all the magic himself. And so you're trying to get to him and defeat him to kind of reset everything and make the world okay again. It's just got a lot of really fun enhancements that you wouldn't get in a normal beat 'em up, because in a normal beat 'em up you have limits to how powerful you can make your character without the game feeling too easy, right? Yeah, you could adjust the difficulty as far as your lives and stuff, but if your character is very powerful in those kinds of games, usually it's a cakewalk. You just kind of just charge through. It's the reason that special attacks are usually limited in use. Like in the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, using your special cost health because they didn't want people to just spam the special because it's the most powerful move you have, that kind of thing. And because this is a roguelike and every run you reset, you really get that feeling of designing a character to be brokenly powerful. So, like I said, I play the rogue. The multi hits, she low damage but fast hits and high crit rates kind of thing. And so, just like with Hades or other things, instead of gods, there's different elements that you can attune yourself to and get different buffs. So maybe you attune to fire, and now all of your basic hits will burn an enemy for X seconds after you hit them. Maybe you attune with water, and now all of your moves have much more knockback, like you push them away with water as you hit them. And so my friend Scott and I were playing the other day, and I ended up with this completely insane build where the lightning tree, a lot of their things focus on you build up what they call static, on yourself every time you land a hit. When you reach 100% of static, it makes a gigantic like burst of electricity that hits an enemy and then bounces off of that enemy to one other enemy. And I ended up just kept getting a bunch of those, so it would increase the amount of static I gained on every hit. So I was hitting that more often, increase the number of characters it bounces to, increase the damage. Now my specials add to it, and then on top of that, they do something really cool that I don't think like Hades and stuff did. Is usually the final tier in an element combines it with another element. So in this example, I had one that said every time I reached 100% static, I would release multiple tornadoes of wind that would like lift up the enemies into the air. And so, as the character who specializes in air combat and stuff, it was just I was zipping across the screen. I hit somebody like 5 times, and because I had so many buffs, static goes off immediately. A huge burst of electricity causes everyone to take damage. Tornadoes throw like 5 enemies up into the air. Like you just feel like really, really powerful, really solid once you've got a good build going. And then the music, similar to what you were saying with Ball X Pit, it's very classic fantasy style. So a lot of fiddles, a lot of string music, and I've always been a sucker for good fiddle music, and this kind of hits that sweet spot of like fantasy Celtic almost.
Mhm.
But yeah, really, really good game. I've been absorbed into that for quite some time.
And it's fun when you get a really good build going. It's just super
Yes,
satisfying.
and yes, it's exactly like why. It's like I'm surprised you haven't seen more beat 'em up roguelikes before because it really does fit so well as a combination.
Right, yeah, I haven't really seen one before, but most of the ones that I've seen, um, are usually shoot 'em ups or card based.
Yeah,
Well, what was the name of it again? Absolute.
Absalom, Absolum.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to go look it up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's highly recommend. If you enjoy beat 'em ups, it's one of the most fun ones I've played ever.
Ooh, okay, nice.
So now we have an update on rogue type games. Am I identifying them correctly?
Yep, roguelikes.
Roguelikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go category by category then. Any other video games, anything to be excited about coming out, or computer games?
Um, nothing coming up that I am aware of. The big one was Pokemon. That was the big release, but I'm gonna wait until I get a Switch 2 until I start playing.
And Zach, have you heard of any video games that excite you?
Nothing else on the horizon that I can think
Okay, onward to card games. Any card games coming out? We'll start with Tim because level one has a lot of competitions with card games, and we always get thorough updates from you.
Yeah, so in typical fashion, the card game front for us has been super crazy. Um, Not as crazy that it has been, but we had a new Magic set come out. This has barely been a couple of weeks ago now, 3 weeks or so. And it was another. So remember back in the day, they did Lord of the Rings, they did Fallout, they did Warhammer, they did other IPs in Magic.
Uh-huh.
Um, this new set continues that. So this was a Marvel Spider-Man set. So a bunch of new Magic cards, but they are Spider-Man based. So you have your Gwen Stacy's, you have your Peter Parkers, you have your who's the news reporter, the main news reporter, J. Jonah Jameson.
James.
So yeah, so he's been a popular card that people have been going after. But yeah, so like I said, Magic. There's always stuff with Magic, and that's been doing pretty well. The Spider-Man um, set was kind of received, so, but it's been okay for us. Um, it's a whole discourse that is a whole podcast in and of itself that we can have a conversation about. But um, Magic keeps us busy. And then with Pokemon, there was not a new. I'm trying to think. Did Mega Evolution come out the last time that we had spoken?
I don't recall. Zach, do
I
Okay.
don't think so, because I think that was within like the past month, right?
Yeah, it is more recent. So the new Pokemon set came out that revolves back around Mega Evolutions. So usually with each Pokemon, series, I'll say, they try to bring back or come out with a new. Um, I'll use the word gimmick for lack of a better. Um, so they've had done megas before. They did things called V stars and V maxes. They're just more powerful versions of the Pokemon. Um, so this one revolves around megas again. So some people, or not some people, some Pokemon get mega forms, so they look different and they're more powerful. But yeah, that's what this one has been about, and that has been going pretty well. I'm sure you've seen some of the crazy Pokemon videos that circulate online of the people going crazy at Costco and stuff.
yes.
Yeah, so
And I
luckily
know
that doesn't.
Walmart, which is one of the places we go, and Target, which is another place we go. They have signs up that you're only allowed one and they're non-returnable for a lot of the
Yep,
products that come out.
yep, exactly. So luckily for us, it doesn't get that crazy. We have our regular Pokemon people that in our Pokemon League that that have access to the stuff that we get. But it doesn't get that crazy, luckily for us. Um, but yeah, no, Pokemon is still super fun. We still do our Pokemon tournaments on Saturdays, and our big ones, once a quarter and stuff. That's what we got coming up in November.
And for people who don't know about the Magic the Gathering and the different franchises, you can theoretically have Spider-Man accompany Frodo and Sam on the quest to get rid of the ring or visit the Forgotten Realms or become vampires or werewolves. So Magic gives you a lot of flexibility because you can combine the different themed decks.
Oh yeah, yep. It's near infinite. You can, like you said, you can have Frodo and Sam next to Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy and a Warhammer, mech suit guy. I forgot his name right now, but yeah, no, there's so much stuff in Magic and endless possibilities.
Well, it boggles the mind. Zach,
Yeah, it's a lot.
have you found any card games that you're excited about, Zach? Have you tried the new Pokemon stuff? Zach, hello?
I haven't played the Pokemon card game in a while. It's one of those things where like I've been out of it for so long that it's daunting to try and get back in.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't think I have too much new as far as card games. I haven't gotten to play it yet, but one of my friends just recently bought a game called The Gang, where you're apparently cooperatively playing a single poker hand with like other people at the table. I don't know too much more beyond it because we haven't got to actually try it out yet. But I was just talking to some people last night that had really, really good things to say about it.
Oh, awesome.
I just
And
pulled it up. Cooperative poker, the cooperative poker game.
yeah, Zach always comes up with very interesting concepts that he finds in gaming, especially card gaming. Um, are there any new variations of the card games that you play?
Hmm. Not that I can think of offhand at the moment. I've gotten a lot of new board games recently, but not too much in far as card games is concerned.
So we'll go to board games next, and we'll start with Zach.
Yeah. So the big one to talk about this time is one that I bought at this point a year ago and finally got to the table last week. So it took me about a year to finally actually play it. But it is a Celtic themed game called Inish, where you are each basically competing to become Wren or High King of Ireland. Uh, the game's production design is beautiful. The tiles that you like move and put your guys on are each probably like 4 to 5 inches across. They're massive. These big, weird, like triangle-esque shapes that are very I've been describing them as they're very fiddly, like fjords are on a map, how they have all those weird nooks and crannies. And the reason that that's worth noting is because they look like they should in no way be able to connect, but they fit perfectly together like jigsaw pieces, no matter which side you put with which side, which is just really satisfying.
Mm.
The art for the land tiles is very like lush painted landscapes of both real and fantastical / mythical Ireland. So Hercules, one of the tiles is the gates of the Tuatha De Danann.
Awesome.
So you go to Tirnanog through there. But so you're all competing to become the High King of Ireland, and the way that you're doing this is there's a single deck of cards. It's roughly, I believe, about 18-ish cards, and they never change. It's always the same cards every round. And what you do is you draft them at the beginning of the round so that everyone has a hand, which, depending on the number of players, ranges between like 4 to 6 cards. And then you're just going to take a turn, one player at a time, playing a single card, resolving it, and going around and around until you've played out through the round. Where things get interesting is because the deck is so small, once you've done a round, maybe even two, you kind of know everything that's in it. So when you're drafting, you know exactly what you're handing to people. You know what you haven't been passed yet, so you can kind of guess and say, like, I've been passing to the left, and Tim's on my right, and I haven't seen the card that allows you to cancel another card. So either Scott has it and started with it, or Tim has it. And so you can kind of start hedging your bets like it must be this person or this person. It might not even be in play because every round you put like one card off to the side face down. But then the different tiles that you are on, that you're fighting over, whoever has the most pieces on them gets a card for that land tile. So if you, one of them might be called the plains. And if I have the most of my guys on the plains, I pick up the card associated with it, and they effectively are either miniature actions, so they're not usually as strong as the deck of cards that you're using, or they're ways to enhance them to make them strong. So with the plains, for example, it's just you can play that card once per round to move some of your men off of the plains without having to actually waste a card that you drafted to do so. Of course, because it's if whoever has the most has it, if someone ties you, then the next round, neither of you get the ability. So it's constantly shifting who can do what. They're always out there publicly, but only the person with control of the area gets to use them. The game has 3 win conditions. The first one is you can just have minimum of one of your little like pawns, which each represent a small clan, on 6 or more tiles. You can have your pawns controlling areas, or sorry, not even controlling areas, being in areas that have 6 of what they call sanctuaries, which are a specific type of building that the cards let you put on tiles. Or if you have the most guys in a region, so maybe 3 of us are playing, and maybe Hercules, you have 6 of your guys on the plains. Tim has 2, and I have 1. So you're in control of the plains, and because you are in control there, you're considered to be the leader of Tim and my pieces that are there. So you don't get to move them, you don't get to take actions with them, but you're considered to be the local lord they're paying like a tithe to. So in this case, you'd be in control of 2 of Tim's and 1 of mine, and you win if you can control 6 of opponents' players that way. So you're constantly pushing and pulling on those 3 win conditions. And they
Does it introduce these the sacred items from Irish mythology and the sacred areas that each of those items belongs to, like this the spear,
The Spear of Lug.
stone, and I forget there was something else too. The cauldron, I believe.
They've got several of them incorporated as what they call epic tale cards.
Okay.
So they're hard to get, but when you get them, unlike the drafting cards, they stay in your hand until you use them. They don't go away at the end of the round, and they tend to be very powerful versions of things the base deck can do. And I think there's twice as many of them as there are basic action cards. So there's a lot of variety. Um, it was a lot of fun. There's a constant push and pull as everyone is fighting to get the same 3 win conditions. And then they take it a step further by making it work kind of like Uno. So if you qualify for one of the 3 win conditions, you have to take a turn to pick up a token that says, like says, okay, if I still maintain this victory condition at the start of my next round, I win. So you basically tell everyone at the table to target you, because you have to put this token down or else you cannot win. Even if you qualify, if you forget to do it, just like if you forget to say Uno before you put your last card down, it doesn't count. So they have tiebreakers where, like, maybe Tim and Hercules, maybe both of you take one of those tokens indicating that you're pretty sure you're going to win next round. We get to the next round and both of you have still achieved the victory condition that you were going for. So then we say, okay, did either of you complete a second win condition? And maybe Hercules, you have guys with sanctuaries and you're spread out across the map, whereas Tim just has guys in sanctuaries. So then you would win because you did 2 out of the 3 victory conditions. And then to kind of speed the game up and make things easier to achieve, the epic tale cards and some of the base cards can give you permanent items that reduce the number you need to win. So whereas originally you need to have 6 sanctuaries, once I get one of those items for the rest of the game, I only need 5 of them. If I get 2 of them, I only need 4 of them, and so on and so forth. So, like, as people are getting to the point where they're very powerful and are pulling the tokens where they're like, yeah, I think I'm winning next round, you start getting to the point where they're also getting these things called deeds that make it easier to hit the win cons to, like, speed up the gameplay in the late stage. It was a lot of fun. I liked it so much that I immediately bought the 5th player expansion so that we could play it more often, because our group is usually like 5-6 people, and this capped at 4 originally. But yeah, highly recommend. A lot of fun. I would say even just look it up, look at the art, because the art is really, really fantastic.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. That's definitely, I find that something worth looking into.
I like when games use, mythical stuff like that, because it's, the people that know will know. Like, if I was playing that, I would be like, oh, that's a cool sphere. I wouldn't know,
Yeah, yeah.
what one from the other, but the people that know that goes the extra mile. It's nice.
And there are plenty of mythical role-playing games that would allow you to expand on the game that you described if you chose to do so. And now onwards to role-playing games. I've been looking at the Marvel's multiverse role-playing game recently, and there's a system called ranking that I'm thinking of adapting into my Greek mythology game. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I found a similar system in a superhero game called Idols. So I've been very excited about that. My Mythic Adventure games, 3 of them are taking place in schools, and one of them is taking place in my home. And this time for Halloween, I'm tying the stories together. So even though not all of them take place in the same time or location, all the stories are thematically connected together. And because kids talk about what they do in the games, each game has certain pieces of information that would help people in another game in case they communicate. So that's what I've been
Nice.
doing recently.
That'll be fun. A nice secret to help kill a big boss or something.
Yeah, I found out after one of the summers recently that a few of the kids have been at the same camp, and they discovered that each of them had me as their playing person in their school. So they started comparing stories, and they found that each of them had pieces of the story. So they were able to expand on their understanding of what actually happened or what happened after they left and things like that. And they really seemed to get a kick out of it. So I figured, let me do that more deliberately and more often in the future.
Yeah, wow, that's so fun. That's really cool.
I'm really, really glad that the kids are enjoying themselves. How are your role-playing games coming along?
They're going well. We just finished arc 4 of my Legends of the Five Rings game,
Oh,
which was kind of like a big dungeon crawl this arc because I was like, you know what, we did like a big social thing. We did like one more focused on exploration. We did the one that was kind of both. So this one was more or less your classic kind of you're going in a dungeon. There's rooms with specific monsters. You're trying to beat all of the rooms and kill the big evil magic user at the end kind of thing. Um, and so that was a lot of fun watching them like strategize because they got to the final room and each of the monsters they fought in the separate rooms were like, oh, here's the room themed around fire. And it's got a gigantic centipede that kind of emblemizes that element and everything. When they get to the final boss room, surprise, surprise, she's got one each of those guys
ooh,
blocking the way between her and them. So the way I put it to them was this was a teaching exercise. This was a case of I told you that story so I could tell you this one.
uh-huh.
Because every time they met one of the new monsters, I introduced new mechanics they hadn't seen in the previous arcs. And each one of them took up almost a session, like half a session to a session just for the one monster. So then when they get to the final room and they see them all against them, they knew what all of them could do and they knew what all the new mechanics were because they had just spent several sessions learning them and fighting them individually. And so it was fun watching them like put it together and fight their way through and get to her. And they managed to take the evil witch lady down without letting any of the NPCs die, which surprised me quite a bit. So I fully expected like all of the NPCs helping them out to die. I thought they'd be like, "All right, you stay here, hold them back while we keep going," that kind of thing. But they actually took the time to make sure they kept them safe and like saved their lives. So they all ended up earning a bunch of like honor and glory at the end of it.
Wow, that sounds exciting and a lot of fun.
What did the big main monster drop at the end?
So she did not drop loot for them. Basically, this was a kind of side quest of lore where they learned some things. Um, her whole thing was she had been locked away for heretical research she'd done. She was like, humans can be immortal. I think we should be immortal. I found a way to do that. And it's by basically killing you and breaking your body up into the five elements and then making you into like an elemental spirit. Um, and her clan was like, no, that's bad, but it's interesting. So they let her keep trying it because she was only killing like peasants. And then when she killed a noble, they were like, all right, we kind of, our hands are tied. We're going to lock you away because we don't want to kill you because this is interesting. And if we need it in the future, we want to be able to like unearth you and have your expertise. Um, and so when she woke up, they were basically trying to put her down before she could break the ward that was like sealing her in the cave. Um, and so they slowly learned like what she was doing, how this was connected, all these things. And then it's set them up for the next arc. I basically gave them free reign for this one, where I said, okay, the like branch that you guys have been working for the government, a newly formed branch to investigating these odd little mysteries like this. Every arc so far, it's mostly been I give you a choice of X, Y, and Z, and then in character, you guys debate and pick where you're going, but you don't know what happened in the other places, or you might find
Mhm.
rumors of it afterwards. But those events will resolve, even though you are not there.
Mhm.
And
Cool.
so for this one, I basically said the floor is yours. Use this to suggest any leads that you previously did not get to follow up on. If there's something that you like did and you feel it's unfinished, whatever. So it was an opportunity for them to kind of get invested in the story and decide what their characters wanted to argue was worth investigating for the government branch they work
Hmm. That's cool. Living world.
in. I'm very big on the idea that things do not go away just because you're not looking at them. The
Mhm.
players should not be the only agents of change in the world. Obviously, the players should be the most important, the ones your story is about. But if the world doesn't change around them, it tends to feel stagnated. It feels like it doesn't matter.
Oh, I'm a firm believer in that also. The kids in my group, some of them had imprisoned Echidna, who's the mother of all monsters, in a pocket dimension where she still is, and she's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
In another game, they imprisoned what do you call it, Typhon
Okay.
under a mountain in Italy, which is where he is in the mythology too. But they didn't make the connection with Typhon and Echidna. They're the father and mother of all monsters.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
now all the monsters are out to get them and are much more powerful than they were before. So
Yep.
yeah, everything has consequences, and ignorance doesn't alleviate the effect of the consequences. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in what you're talking about. And I try to.
Oh my god, that's that's so great. It's so fun.
Uh,
And I'm a big fan of what I call mirror characters or reflections. So, like to kind of aid with that idea, usually I make effectively a counterparty. So, like in Pokemon, each one of the players has a rival, and so Tim knows what that means from the Pokemon games,
Hmm.
but a rival is usually a character that you meet early in your quest, that they start on the same level you do, but every time you meet them, they're stronger to match your level. Every
right.
time you meet them, the fight is harder. It makes you use new tactics, things like that. And so in this case, the rivals are not just people for them to fight against, but they're also reflections of their worldviews, of things that they're trying to achieve. One of the PCs is on a quest to find an ancient sword that's tied to his bloodline that his father always told him stories about. And he has this very like rose tinted glasses look at. His rival is someone else distantly related to him who has the opposite view. The sword needs to be destroyed. And his whole thing now is he's trying to find the sword first and destroy it so it can't harm more people. And so the PC is slowly learning more of the history that he didn't know about the swords, and it's got him reconsidering things. Um, so I really like to put in those characters that cause the PCs to reflect on themselves, to think about what they're doing, and to change and grow as they keep going along across the campaign.
And I wish this conversation come up earlier in our show because we've run out of time. But
Sorry, sorry.
no, something I'd like to ask you to think about. It's been brought up a few times before, but on a fifth week, if we're all free, I'd like to do a second show that just focuses on being a good storyteller, being a good dungeon master, and putting together adventures. And
Yeah,
something we do every month, but maybe 3, 4, or 5 times a year, we could do that. So I'll contact you both, and we could play with the idea and see where it goes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be up for
definitely.
that.
Tim, how can people find you and find Level One Games and enter the wonderful universe that you've created there and beyond?
Um, yeah. So best way is on Facebook and on Instagram, just Level One Games. We'll post up all the stuff that's going on. So the big thing that we got going on this week. So Halloween is very big for us. The spooky time. It's our favorite, being horror people and just the just that overall vibe at the store. So on this Thursday, we're doing our special Halloween Commander event, Magic the Gathering Commander event. So we do special giveaways, and we give away candy and stuff, and costumes are encouraged. So the crew that comes, they really get into it. They get, special costumes that they make specifically for the event and everything. We may have a photo booth this year, actually, if we can get some space. Um, but uh, but yeah, so we got always got a bunch of fun stuff going on, and then on Saturday we're having a mini Halloween event for some of the people that can't come on this Thursday. But yeah, best way is just Facebook and Instagram. Whatever we got going on, we always we try to keep up to date with the stuff going on up on there.
And thank you for sharing what's going on with our audience. I always look forward to it and I always appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
And Zach.
So you can always find me on Facebook, or you can send me an email at Mr. Moonin, MRMUNNIN @gmail.com.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'd like to wish both of you a happy rest of the month and a happy Halloween. Halloween's my anniversary, as you know, so that's just
Oh, yes, yes.
and
Happy anniversary.
thank you. And we were talking about costumes. We had a store in Pennsylvania called the Barbarian Bazaar in Einon. And when we
Mhm.
closed, we had a blowout sale, and you got a great discount for dressing up like a zombie. So the whole type place we were was flooded with zombies.
Yes.
Nice.
Close.
That's great.
Looking forward to seeing pictures of folks visiting your store in costumes. Thank you so very much to both of you, and I wish you success with all your adventures and all your adventures.
Same to
Thank
you.
you
It's
very
always
much.
great talking to you.
Thanks, and thanks to all who tuned in. Until next time, this is all of us wishing you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.